Right now, someone is watching this video carrying a weight on their shoulders that would destroy most people. And the worst part? They have no idea how strong they actually are. They think they're barely surviving, but the truth is, they've been doing something extraordinary this whole time. If that sounds like you, don't skip this video, because what I'm about to tell you might change the way you see yourself forever. Most people have no idea how strong they actually are. They walk around every single day carrying weight that would crush someone else, and they don't even realize it. They think mental strength looks like never crying, never struggling, never feeling pain. But that's not strength. That's a mask. Real mental strength is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need applause. It shows up in small moments, the ones nobody else sees. And today, I'm going to show you 7 signs that prove you are mentally stronger than you think. If even 3 of these sound like you are far ahead of most people. Stay until the end. Number 7 is the one that changes everything. Sign number 1. You choose logic over emotion in high-pressure moments. When life hits hard, most people react instantly. They explode, they panic, they say things they don't mean. They make decisions from a place of fear or anger or desperation. But not you. You pause, even if it's just for a second. Even if the world around you is falling apart, something inside you hits the brakes. You take a breath, you think. You ask yourself, what is the smartest move right now? This doesn't mean you don't feel emotions. You feel everything, deeply, intensely. But instead of letting those emotions drive the car, you take the wheel. You respond instead of react. And that single difference, response versus reaction, is one of the most powerful signs of mental strength that exists. Most people are slaves to their emotions. They don't even realize they have a choice. But you already know the secret. Emotions are data, not directions. You feel them, you process them, and then you decide what to do. That is a level of control most people will spend their entire lives trying to reach. Number 2, you adapt when life doesn't go according to plan. Let me tell you something most people never want to hear. Life doesn't care about your plans. It never did. You can prepare, you can organize, you can map out every single detail. And then, one phone call, one unexpected event, one moment you never saw coming changes everything. Most people break when this happens. They freeze, they complain, they ask why me and wait for the universe to fix it. But mentally strong people, they adjust. They don't waste time mourning the plan. They build a new one, quickly, quietly, without drama. This is called psychological flexibility, and research shows it is one of the strongest predictors of resilience and long-term success. Think about the last time something in your life went completely sideways. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe a relationship ended. Maybe a door you were counting on slammed shut right in your face. What did you do? If you found another way forward, even if it was painful, even if it was slow, that is proof of real mental strength. Rigid minds break. Flexible minds survive. You didn't just survive. You adapted. And that puts you ahead of more people than you know. Number 3, you walk toward your fears instead of running from them. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding the things that scare them. They build invisible walls around their comfort zones and call it safety. But mentally strong people do something different. They feel the fear, the exact same fear everyone else feels, and they step forward anyway. This doesn't mean they're fearless. That is a myth. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is being terrified and deciding that something else matters more. Think about it. When was the last time you did something that made your stomach drop? When was the last time you had a difficult conversation you'd been avoiding for weeks, or applied for something you didn't feel qualified for, or stood up for yourself when it would have been so much easier to stay quiet? If you've done any of these, even once, that is mental strength. You didn't wait for the fear to disappear. You moved while it was still there, and that is what separates the strong from the stuck. Sign 4. You treat your mistakes as lessons, not life sentences. Weak minds see failure as proof that they're not good enough. They replay their worst moments on a loop, punishing themselves over and over for something that already happened. They carry their past mistakes like heavy stones in a backpack, wondering why life feels so exhausting. But mentally strong people have a completely different relationship with failure. They don't enjoy it, no one does, but they refuse to let it define them. When they fall, they study the ground. They ask themselves, what happened? What can I learn from this? And how do I make sure it never happens again? And then, and this is the critical part, they put it down. They drop the weight. They forgive themselves, not because what happened doesn't matter, but because holding on to it serves absolutely no purpose. If you've ever taken a painful experience and turned it into a powerful lesson, you are mentally stronger than most people will ever be. Sign 5. You can genuinely celebrate other people's success. This one is rare, and it is one of the clearest signs of deep inner strength. When someone around you wins, when your friend gets the promotion, when your neighbor buys the new car, when someone younger than you achieves something you haven't, what is your very first reaction? Be honest with yourself. Most people feel a sting, a small flash of jealousy, a quiet voice inside that whispers, "Why not me?" And many people let that voice control them. They minimize other people's achievements. They find reasons to criticize. They compare, and they despair. But mentally strong people, they feel genuinely happy for others. Not because they don't want success for themselves, but because they understand something most people don't. Someone else's victory is not your defeat. The world is not a pie with limited slices. Another person shining does not dim your light. If you can look at someone else's success and feel inspired instead of threatened, your mind is operating on a level most people will never reach. Sign 6. You don't need external validation to feel worthy. This is where most people silently struggle and never even realize it. They post something online and check for likes every 5 minutes. They share good news and feel empty if no one reacts. They achieve something incredible and it doesn't feel real until someone else acknowledges it. Their entire sense of worth is outsourced. It lives in other people's opinions, in compliments, in applause, in approval. And the problem with that, it can be taken away at any moment. But mentally strong people have built something different inside themselves. They have an internal foundation. They know who they are, even when no one is watching, even when no one claps, even when the world is completely silent. They don't need someone else to tell them they matter. They already decided that for themselves. This doesn't mean they don't appreciate recognition. Of course they do. Everyone likes to be seen. But there is a massive difference between appreciating validation and needing it to survive. If you can sit alone in a quiet room with no notifications, no praise, no audience, and still feel at peace with who you are, you have something that most people spend their entire lives searching for. Sign 7. You accept what you cannot control. This is the final sign, and it is the most powerful one of all. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood something that modern psychology is only now catching up to. They said, you suffer not because of the events in your life, but because of your judgment about them. Think about how much energy you have wasted trying to control things that were never in your hands. Other people's opinions, the weather, the economy, the past, someone else's choices, the future. You cannot control any of these things, and yet, most people burn through their entire mental energy trying. They argue with reality. They resist what has already happened. They replay conversations they can't change. They worry about outcomes they can't predict, and it destroys them, slowly, quietly, from the inside out. But mentally strong people have learned the most freeing lesson a human being can learn. Control what you can, release what you cannot, and know the difference. They focus their energy like a laser
on their actions, their mindset, their effort, their response. Everything else, they let it go. Not because they don't care, but because they understand that holding on to what you can't control is like gripping sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more you lose. If you've ever looked at a situation that was completely out of your hands, taken a deep breath and said to yourself, "This is not mine to carry," you have unlocked a level of mental strength that most people will never even understand. And there they are, 7 signs you are mentally stronger than you think. Let me remind you what they are. 1. You choose logic over emotion when it matters most. 2. You adapt when life breaks your plans. 3. You face your fears instead of running. 4. You turn your mistakes into lessons. 5. You celebrate others without feeling threatened. 6. You validate yourself from within. And 7. You accept what you cannot control. If you recognized yourself in 3 or more of these signs, you are not average. You are not weak. You are carrying a kind of strength that the world doesn't always see, but it is there, and it is real. Now I want you to do something. Drop a comment below and tell me which sign hit you the hardest. Which one made you stop and think? If this video gave you something, even one moment of clarity, hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications, because every week on this channel, we go deep into the psychology of what makes people truly powerful. You found this video for a reason. Don't ignore that. I'll see you in the next one.